all of you. So we're going to basically look at two things in this panel. We're going to first spend a very brief few minutes trying to review what IITs have done well, and in that context, also just connected to what have been the expectations from society and government. But what we would really like to focus on is the future. So, this new alumni center, which we are setting up here in Bangalore, and many other such initiatives are connected to the future of IITs, how they can play a bigger role, particularly in the context of a lot of the technology development challenges that India faces. So, we're going to do this in two parts. So, I'm going to start by setting the ball rolling, requesting each of the directors on the panel. Can you, in very brief, just tell us, what do you think IITs have done well, and what are reasonable expectations from the institutes? Because sometimes it looks as though the world, or at least India, wants IITs to do everything. So what do you consider a reasonable expectation from the institutes? Maybe I'll start with Professor Ram.
Thank you. I think IITs have also been evolving in a way. If you look at when the IITs were set up, I don't think IITs were set up to do research. For at that time, the vision was CSIR labs will do research, IITs will produce the best quality graduates. That happened for a long period of time. Then maybe 20 years ago, the transition to a research focus has started, and IITs also started, doing a lot of research in all our campuses. IIT Delhi or Bombay, if you look at, because I know both these places, 60%, more than 60% of our students are actually postgraduate students. Undergraduate students are less than 40% now on our campuses. So a lot of research is happening. IIT Delhi, for example, last year in the research impact was ranked 39th in the world. So research wise, we are doing well. But then people started saying, why just doing research is not going to take us anywhere. They said you must file patents. Then we started last 10 years or last 5 years, we have been aggressively producing IP and patenting and protecting it. For example, IIT Delhi last year we filed about 150 patents. So therefore, if you are looking at the transition from a pure teaching based institution to research focus and then the patenting, now people are asking, what next? So you have filed patents, but what's happening to these patents? Now we are all ramping up our patent portfolios. We're all looking at the commercialization aspects. We're all building teams to commercialize the IP. Last year, IIT Delhi, we earned about a crore out of our patenting licensing. I mean, the potential is huge, and I think that has been the progression. And now, out of these patents, of course, you can earn royalties. But the other thing which I think is happening very well is startups. Now, when you look at at least IIT Delhi, which I know the data now, there are at least 100 startups on the campus, and every second student at IIT Delhi wants to become an entrepreneur. So now our focus is, our curriculum is all designed to produce university professors. I think so. Now from that university professor kind of a focus to producing entrepreneurs, what are the changes that we need to undertake in our curriculum? That is where now the lot of curriculum changes are happening. We launched minor degree programs a few years ago, and which are very popular. We are bringing alumni, who have done well in entrepreneurship. So now I think in the future I see IITs, getting more and more into the entrepreneurship startup mode, and I would think, at IIT Delhi we have 1,000 startup kind of an initiative. I would like to see IIT Delhi involved in at least 1,000 startups, directly or indirectly. I think that we are on our way. So that is what I think will happen.
Very nice. Professor Gonzalez, your institute is relatively, of course, a much younger institute in a very scenic location, of course. But so, what do you think IITs are doing well? What is reasonable to expect from IIT Mandi?
Yeah, thank you. So since you started out saying we're a scenic institution, I just like to show a few pictures of the scenery. If you can, um, can, can you project? The context in which we are, Himachal is a state with very little. Yeah, next please. Himachal is a state with very little industry, and as you can see, our campus over here was literally a greenfield campus. So we started out initially by renovating some stables and in 2012 we started using the campus. Next. Next. So by 2019, you can see the campus is fairly well developed, a very scenic campus. As you can see, we even had some snow. Next. Yeah, and this is the campus as it is just recently, quite well developed. Now, the question, the one question is what we are doing for industry in a place like this. So, in this there are two things. One is, as Professor Ram Gopal Rao mentioned, we have completely redesigned our curriculum. So, we have a very different curriculum. Next. So, the curriculum, right from first year to fourth year, there's a lot of project-based learning. Students work in teams, they work on real-world problems. We have also introduced data science and machine learning for all undergraduate students. We have a BTech in data science, which is the first in any IIT. And we've even introduced data science for master's students in chemistry and so on. Next. So this shows an example of some of the types of projects. All our undergraduate students in their second year, they do projects like this. The one on the left is a cooking machine where you feed the ingredients in, it chops up the ingredients, fries them and so on, and out comes a dish. This is done in one semester by a team of second year students. There's a Spider-Man outfit on the right. Next. In the third year, our students go out into society, into the villages around. They look for the existing technology, see how new technology can impact the society. They do a systematic study. Again, giving them, it's a kind of very, it's sort of like a market survey. Next. So our students have been able to achieve lots of things that we're very proud that not only in academics, for instance, recently, last year, a team of second year BTech girls won the national ACMW hackathon with about 200 other teams. We have a BTech student, Nitesh Kumar. While doing his BTech, he's won 13 international medals in para badminton for India, including gold in Ireland. Next. Now, if you look at the start, so one is training our students. The other is encouraging the industry in Himachal. And here we have a couple of business incubators. One is Catalyst, a regular technology business incubator, and another one. We also have, I've listed here a number of projects where our faculty are working directly with industry. Next. This is some very cutting-edge work being done for Intel in the US starting in 2012 and also being commercialized by SCL Mohali on VLSI resist material. Next. This is some work on applying machine learning to cervical screening of cervical cancer. There's a product here developed by a company, Aindra in Bangalore, which was released last year. And next. The Farmer Zone is a very ambitious national project being led by IIT Mandi to apply machine learning to help crop management decisions for small and medium farmers. We are currently working with 3,500 farmers. Next. This is some biodiversity, some medicinal plants of the Himalayan region. Next. The economical use of pine needles. Next. Electric autos for hill states. Next. A very low-cost landslide monitoring system which is being used in the Himalayas. Next. Evoke is a very unusual business incubator. This incubates businesses started by rural women. And in the last 3 years, the women in villages around IIT have earned about 70 lakhs through businesses incubated by Evoke. Next. This is a regular technology business incubator. Okay, so that's very briefly. As I said, our approach is one, redesigning the BTech curriculum, and secondly, fostering new industry in Himachal, also working with global industry. We have industry partners from US, from Europe, from Japan, and from India. I'm also proud to say that in just 10 years, IIT Mandi has become the #1 university in Himachal in the NIRF General University ranking. And in inclusivity and outreach, working for the community, IIT Mandi is first among all 23 IITs in the NIRF ranking.
Mrs. Sitaram, IIT Guwahati again, I think was born out of the Assam Accord. It has a very, again, unique history in a way. And I remember one of the interesting rankings I saw somewhere along the way that out of younger institutions in India, IIT Guwahati was in some global top 50 or something like that. I don't remember what exactly it was, but so it's done extremely well in that period it's been in existence. So, what do you see as the significant contributions, and what do you see as a reasonable expectation from IIT Guwahati?
He's already told you how IIT Guwahati has performed in the last 25 years. So we are actually celebrating 25th year of OGP celebrations this year. This is the 6th IIT, and if you look at the location where it was taught, we have a international boundary where IIT Guwahati is located. 98% of the boundary is international. We are only connected with 2% of our land mass with the mainland India. And among all the 8 states, including Sikkim, 7 sister states of Northeast, we have only IIT functioning there. And all the states have NITs, but except NIT Agartala, they are all still catching up how to really set up the infrastructure. IIT Guwahati, I will not go into the ranking and all those details, but after I joined, we were thinking of how to really ramp up the activities of IIT Guwahati. So we would like to look at that, particularly in the era of disruptive innovation. So there are a lot of demand and also competitive advantage and support of the government. So I'll just take you through quickly all these programs, whether it is API, Imprint, MPI, MRF, and all our faculty and researchers are quite active in that, whether it is Startup India, even IIT Guwahati has a research park, and we have startup companies, there is Technology Incubation Center, or more than 20 are already graduated to the next level from the incubation. And global knowledge markets in IIT is a challenge, and also it's an opportunity. So we have to take a look at that, and particularly drive IIT as a partner in the knowledge economy to inspire, create, and move our society forward. So I just looked at the SWOT perspective of IIT, particularly IIT Guwahati. So how do we really get ready? The strengths are basically we have a brand IIT, successful alumni award, global university grant, developing an excellent research institution. However, there are a lot of weaknesses, particularly low university global ranking. Even though Rishikesh was telling us IIT Guwahati is one of the youngest to be listed in the top 100, the young universities. But still, we have a long way to go. So, low student diversity. IIT Guwahati has already made an attempt to have a joint degree program with GIFU. I think this is the first IIT to have a joint degree program in PhD in chemistry, as in chemical engineering, and then food science and technology, and then mechanical engineering with GIFU University, where both the directors of these institutions signed for the degree certificate. This is a unique program IIT Guwahati has started this year. And then solo campus functioning, limited multidisciplinary and societal focus, unattractive to global students and faculty. Still, we have a lot of challenges to attract a lot of international students. So opportunities are plenty. Particularly, I would like to highlight on the sustainable development goals. We have only 10 more years left to really adopt into higher education. And emerging new technology, materials, new jobs, and co-location, collaborative research, and also national education policy, cost and competitive research advantage. And then there are threats, that is limited, impactful, and applied research. High climate change and urbanism challenges. PG attrition, that is another thing you have to look at it. Postgraduate, there is a lot of attrition. So even government is thinking about this, how to really handle that. So we had in the recent IIT Council meeting also, we discussed about it. And then international universities, flexible offers to really mobility of both students and faculty, and intense competition. It will not take much time, and I need to reposition the advantage to reach its role. And then we have looked at the path ahead, both in research and innovation, academics, students, alumni, and faculty, and society. And particularly, from IIT, from a tower of excellence, we need to go to network of excellence, to network with industry, international networking, and institutes in the region. That's very, very focused. We are looking at Northeastern region. So I have called actually 17th and 18th, all the NIT's directors to IIT Guwahati, including all the CFTI. We are going to debate how we can collaborate. because now IIT Guwahati has become a big brother in that region. So I'll just show you some pictures of IIT Guwahati from this quickly. So we are actually, the mantra is academy, industry interaction, innovation, incubation and translation of growth. So our vision is to recognize globally for excellence in education, research and innovation, nurture future leaders to serve the society at large. So ACTIS policy of the government of India is also very, very helpful to us. So these are the fundamental strengths of the areas in which strength of IIT Guwahati. There are a lot of diversities, and not even the publication-wise citation also per faculty is also quite high. We are happy to say, I come from Indian Institute of Science, so we are happy to say publication per faculty is already touched IISc, but we have a low perception. So that needs to be improved. IIT, as I told you, is the first IIT that grew completely with indigenous efforts. Then IIT Guwahati perhaps built the confidence in Indian academia that one institute or university can become a frontline institute all by itself at a location that was not well connected by air when it started. IIT Guwahati can be considered as a role model that represents the successful implementation of Look East and Act East policy of the Government of India. Today, IIT Guwahati, with an academically vibrant campus, has become a destination of leading academic minds from all over the world. So we do have a lot of international visitors. So I will close this. These are some of the areas and strengths. So I will leave this there. I think we have a time to discuss. Thank you.
So Professor Karandikar, of course, IIT Kanpur again is one of the earliest IITs, and I think we had an interesting discussion over breakfast about, certainly all the older IITs have very impressive histories and achievements, but what is reasonable to expect from IITs? I know you had some interesting views on that. Could you share it with me?
So I think I'll just start from what Professor Gopal said. So IITs, I think, have really undergone through some transitions. So first 30 years really were mostly concentrated on teaching, but now actually, contrary to popular perception that exists outside, IITs have really have been contributing significantly to both research and technology development. The last 10 years have seen a significant surge in translational research, and the incubation activities in almost all IITs have significantly advanced. And including, I would say that in IIT Kanpur, for example, in IIT Kanpur also we have something like 85 incubating companies on at campus. I think the one aspect is, of course, contributions to the cutting edge technology and coming off some unicorn companies, but at the same time, we also have to see that we take research which actually has a societal and a national impact as well. And in this context, I would say that IIT Kanpur has been actually has done very well in terms of both incubating companies as well as doing translational research, which is having an impact on the society and the nation. Now, Gopal Rao has definitely now said that one way to sort of increase in the future, to increase our industry academia interaction, is through the startups and incubating companies where we can do translational research and translation of our research and commercialization of the research prototypes. But at the same time, I feel that there is some pull from the industries required in the Indian ecosystem, which is I see somewhat missing. Because in a university system, there is always be a limitation to which a faculty member or the students of the university can get involved in the translational research, unless there is a closer interactions and a closer pull that is coming from the Indian industry. It will difficult to have a very meaningful relationships that would have an impact. In terms of, I think, moving forwards, I won't say that our changes in the curriculum have not taken place. They have been taking place continuously. As also, I think there is one myth that for the last 10 years, if you see the statistics, only a small percentage of IITs are actually now going abroad for higher studies, or large number of students are really taking to entrepreneurships, and that is really a healthy sign. And there is therefore a need for changing the curricula in a flexible manner, which gives an opportunity for the students to develop the spirit of entrepreneurships in the undergraduates or even in the master's and PhD programs as well. I know that some IITs have started minors in entrepreneurships. IIT Bombay actually was the first to start that, and I believe that a time has come where we actually formally start such programs in all institutions. The other part is, IIT Madras, of course, has shown in terms of setting up a research park. Particularly for institutes like IIT Kanpur, we would also like to see a connect with the local industry as well. One of the reasons historically of setting up IITs at different regions was to see that industry in that regions actually gets benefited by setting up an advanced technological institutions, and I don't think that has really taken place in the last 50 years or so. But now things have started taking place, as Professor Timothy Gonzalez also mentioned that in the local connect with the environment and the industry is now happening, and that is the direction also that we would like to take even in IIT Kanpur. We believe that it is not necessary to sort of always generate unicorn companies, as long as there are successful entrepreneurs who are generating a reasonable revenue and are profitable and are making an impact on the local industry. That is very, very important. And in this context, I would say that there are at least 15 companies which have been incubated from IIT Kanpur, which are having the revenue in the range of like 1 crore to 10 crores. They won't become $1 billion company. They would not attract, millions of dollars of investments. But entrepreneurs, our undergrads are entrepreneurs. They are making money and they are having impact and improving the livelihood of the local economy. That is how I think the whole ecosystem will get developed. And I think IITs, and particularly when we have now 23 IITs spread across almost the entire regions, we have really a role to play in this context. So that's all.
So first, Sudhir, first let me congratulate you for just starting your third term as director of IIT Gandhinagar. That's certainly quite an achievement, and certainly you've been known for a lot of your innovative practices in terms of hiring faculty, the way you have designed your institute. So, and just on the same lines, could you tell us a little bit about what do you think are the major achievements of IIT so far, and really what are the reasonable expectations from IITs?
Okay, Rishi, thank you. Basically, the way I see IIT system has done extremely well on one front called integrity. The fact that we don't do sifarish and rishwat for admissions of students, evaluation of students, recruitment of faculty, recruitment staff. I think that is something very unique that you have done it for over the last 60, 70 years. And this, you have not done it at one place, you have done it at 23 places. I think that is something very, very special, very unique. And if today IIT is what IIT it is because of that single factor called integrity. And I think that is something that is not often talked about, but that is something that we must very carefully guard against pressures of any kind in the future. So that is one thing. Second thing that we have done extremely well, I think, is pivoting from being a teaching school to a research school. When I joined in '84 at Kanpur IIT as a faculty member, there was no serious expectation of serious research, impact, things like that. We were really focused on producing good students, the PhD students or BTech students. I think if today a young faculty joins IIT Kanpur or any other IIT, they will be not having that mindset that I was given in 1984. So we have done this pivoting also extremely well. I think this is something we shall be very proud of. I think considering the ecosystem that the country provided to educational institutions, IITs have done 10 times better than what other institutions have done, partly because of that integrity. But I believe that IITs could have done 10 times more than what they have done. And I'm going to share a couple of thoughts on how we could do 10 times more than what we have done. I think one of the key idea that is really coming out to me very frequently is the lack of uniform culture, academic culture in our institutions. Our institutions means IITs generally, but even universities everywhere. We just haven't been able to successfully build academic culture. If you talk to academics in, for example, US universities, tier 1, tier 2, they will talk same things, more or less similar things. They will have similar priorities. They will have similar understanding of, faculty should be promoted on merit, for example. The level of merit may be different from first year and second year. That will be, of course, there. But there will be no question. In IT, still there will be debate about whether seniority should be given importance. There will be debate about whether, we should be only focused on research or we should give credit for teaching and things like that. There is still concern that we haven't built culture. How the students see themselves in the IT, there is no uniformity. Even within IT, even within IT X or Y, there is a tension. It is like we all are pulling the institution in different directions. If you don't have a shared values and shared ethos, I don't expect that everybody should be speaking the same thing. I don't expect everybody should have the same belief. Diversity, I certainly would not disagree with. But I think there are certain core beliefs that we have to share. So, as an institution, I believe that we need to build deeper ethos. We have already done something. In any IIT, any faculty member who does favoritism in grading will be looked down upon. That culture is already set. Any director who favors faculty recruitment based on any considerations other than merit will be looked down upon. There is no question about that. Certain things we have done well, we have built a culture, but there are a lot more areas, how the students see themselves, how the student-faculty relationships are, how the staff-faculty relationships are, how the junior-senior faculty relationships are, how the humanities versus non-humanities faculty relationships are, things like that. So there is a whole lot of work, I think, that we need to do. If we can do that, we will do much better. I would say IIT Gandhinagar has done a fairly poor job of hiring mid-career faculty primarily because of that. Because we find that if you were to bring mid-career faculty from any other institutions, including other IITs, there's a lot more work that needs to be done to align them with what we believe in. And that becomes a little problematic because everybody else is a young faculty, they will get carried away by mid-career faculty bringing different type of values and ethos. I think there is one key idea that I think I will place before the House. The second key idea that I feel there is a problematic for IITs, that the government looks at us as if we are a civil service. They want us to be governed by civil service rules. Every little circular that Government of India issues, they pass it on to IITs as if we were running a Tehsildar's office or a collector's office or an income tax office or whatever office. And when it comes to corporates, they want us to behave like corporates. Right? They think that we are corporates. We are neither corporates nor government. We are academic institutions, which have to have a totally different ethos, which is different. If you run the corporate like an academic institution, the corporation will go further. If you run the government like a corporation, the government will collapse. My belief is that universities have to be run the university way, which is different from how corporations are run and which is different from how the government is run. I think we as IIT have done a poor job of explaining this to our benefactors from government and corporation. Unfortunately, the guy who gives me the check has more wisdom, and I have to listen to him to pick up my check. And I have to sometimes nod my head and say, I agree with you, so that the check can come in my hand. I think we need to find a balance to be able to explain to the society at large, to the government, to the corporate, that we are not supposed to be run like a government. We are not supposed to be run like a corporate. Having said that, what is it that defines IIT Gandhinagar? We have thought about it, and we said IIT Gandhinagar is defined by three things. One, students first. Our first priority is the students. Regardless of whatever it is, we must work for students. That is what we exist for. Whether it is students' welfare, whether it is food, whether it is classes, whatever, everything to us is the highest priority. The second thing that is important for us is research for impact. Research can be two types, right? Research can be or several types. But in IIT context, research can be two types. One is credentialing research. I published a paper in a very top journal, and therefore I'm good. That is, I got elected to such and such fellowship, I'm good. I have published 105 papers, I'm good. That is credentialing research. I think that is a very good thing at the time of recruiting a young faculty. That may also be good when making an assistant professor into an associate professor. But the second type of research, which is research for impact, I think we need to focus on that. And I have been saying in IIT Gandhinagar that in order to become assistant professor to associate professor, I want to see credentialing, but from associate professor to full professor, I must see impact, right? So the second key idea that defines IIT Gandhinagar is that we want research for impact. The third thing that we define IIT Gandhinagar for is the societal implications, the societal impact. We believe that using a lot of taxpayers' money, we owe the society tremendous debt, and we must make society better in a limited way that an IIT can do. Again, we can't be a rural development department of the government of India, but our neighboring villages, our neighboring populations must prosper, must do better. They must look at us as their friends, not hostile relationship with us. We must produce students who are societal, who are sensitive to society. So I'll just close, for example, how we integrate these ideas. For example, when our new students show up, for 5 weeks we don't teach any classes. We detoxify them from the JEE preparation by running a boot camp from 6:30 in the morning to 9:30 in the night. Physical activity, sports, this, that, all kinds of things. But then another program which is highly successful of IIT Gandhinagar is what we call as Explorer Fellowship. We give our students 900 rupees a day for 42 days, 38,000 rupees. And we let them loose in India. We expect them to travel to North India, South India, and Northeast India. Over 6 weeks, no air-conditioned train travel, no aircraft travel. Food, lodging in the night, and train. Everything must finish in 900 rupees on an average. Roughly about 50% of our undergraduates volunteer to do that before they graduate. And uniformly, the experience is transformation. We had a rule that you must be 18 years and above to be able to avail this fellowship. And this year, I was under a lot of pressure from a kid who said, I'm 17 years and 10 months and I will be, finishing my 18th birthday. I will have 18th birthday during the trip. Will you make an exception for me? And yeah. So that is how we try to integrate that the student is growing and becoming a sensitive citizen of the country. So I think there's a lot more that can be done. We have done well as institutions. We should be congratulating ourselves, but I think we can do a lot more. Thanks.
So I want to just now request each one of you to just limit yourself to one point. If you think, if looking at how IITs can make greater impact in the future, particularly in the dimension of technology development, what is the one important change at the system level or in terms of recruitment, promotion, interaction with industry, the way your industry or industry interface office works? Just one point, one area where you think you need to make a change, and in a one sentence description of what is that change. So, Professor Ram Gopal Rao, I'll start with you. But I request you to just limit to one point.
I think one of the things is we keep emphasizing on R&D, the research and development kind of a thing. To me, R&D stands for relevance and delivery. There is a lot of research happening in our system, but relevance is lost. I still find people modeling air quality in London, not air quality in Delhi, because it's easy to find the data for London and not for Delhi. So now if you want to do that Delhi problem, you have to first of all go and generate data. And you have to, lot more work, so that is one thing.
So from institute's point of view, how can you make that happen? What is the structural or systemic change that can make that happen better?
So just to come to that second point, the delivery part, there's a lot of research happening, a lot of IP is getting generated, but we fail to deliver it to the society, to the stakeholders. So these two things is where we are focusing on very significantly. There are a lot of initiatives that we have taken. For example, Grand Challenges initiative. We spent at IIT Delhi 35 crores of our internal money where we identified certain problems and we said, put the problem first, not your discipline first. So once you put the problem first, all disciplines will vanish. If I have to solve that air quality problem, whose problem is it?
So that's a good one. Grand challenge to identify problems. Professor Gonsalves, what do you think?
For the delivery part, startups. I think to me, the Grand Challenges kind of initiative, putting problems first and delivery into startups. I think that will differentiate us from the rest.
So Gonsalves, what is the one important systemic or other change you can make to increase impact?
I think for the impact, industry has to be involved because industry finally delivers to society. So I think IITs need to take up, faculty need to be motivated to take up major research challenges along with industry, challenges that are defined by industry right from the beginning with industry involvement. In terms
What
of,
can you do internally
yeah.
to make that happen?
Yeah, so in terms of making it happen internally, several IITs already have that if you get money from industry, you have much more relaxed norms for spending it compared to government money. But I think also in terms of promotion, evaluation, and so on, as Sudhir was saying, that working with industry should be given greater weightage. And this should also be not only in IITs. For instance, there's an interesting thing that there's an Indian National Academy of Engineers, and you think that contribution to industry will count over there, but when they evaluate people to become fellows of INAE, they look for academic publications and not necessarily industry.
Professor Sitaram, what do you think? What is the one major change you can make internally to enhance impact?
Particularly in faculty promotions, what I have already instituted in IIT Guwahati is a peer review process. See, they were always, they were doing earlier only the selection committee. Committee would interview them and do that. So now we have introduced the peer review process. And also we tell them they should be asking that please promote me. I have done these things. Like for example, guidance of PhD and funding from the industry, and then the teaching, quality teaching, and the startup, patents, all of them. The faculty should come out and say, this is all I've done, promote. Rather than we are asking one item and looking at it when like a selection committee will sit and review that. So we have made a complete transformation actually this time. Getting the peer reviews much before. Both some of them are randomly taken by the departmental advice and some from the candidate itself. That has really changed the way.
So peer review to drive the entire promotion process. Professor Karandikar, what's your view? Where can we make systemic changes to improve impact?
Yeah, so I think we can do a lot of processes, but I think one fundamental change that is happening is that we need some internal cultural shift among the psyche of the faculty who joins, that to see that they have a responsibility to sort of contribute to the society and the nation and work with the industry and build in the systems a process of accountability. So some changes taken place. I think there are some. I won't say that we have not.
How do you do that? I mean, any specific step you can suggest?
I mean, we can go into sort of specifics of these, like in terms of faculty recruitment, promotions, incentives for commercializations, introducing schemes for faculty entrepreneurships, giving incentives for interactions with the industry. So one can go into a lot of specific, but once a cultural shift takes place in the academic institutions, I think many of the things really fall in place automatically.
Sudhir Jain, one initiative which you think will increase impact.
See, when we built our campus, we gave a contract system integrator. This gentleman or this contractor brought different components from different vendors and created a system. Similarly, in IT, director has to have a few system integrators around. What has worked very well with us is that we were able to find a very senior industry person whose job was not to publish papers, to teach class or anything like that. He was a system integrator. He would receive any interesting email that I will forward to him from anybody. He will then go to talk to faculty. He will bring faculty on board, and he will resolve the problems that might come.
What do you call him? What's his official title?
I call him Advisor Industry Partnerships. We have now strengthened his hands and given him a couple of additional people. And I think if you look at typical directors' mailbox, the kind of emails that they get, there is no way they can do justice themselves. So they need people who are intellectually at par, but who are not responsible for publishing papers and guiding PhD students. And I think what has worked with me at IIT Gandhinagar very well is that I have had several such people around me who didn't have to worry about publishing papers and guiding PhD students, who could take these initiatives forward. And that is
curious. How do you find such a person?
Be respectful to people. They will come to you. Just to give Rishi, just to give a sense to you, just to boast, I will close this financial year with 20 crore rupees worth of donations in the bank account. And that is possible because when somebody with a potential comes, there is a senior person who is intellectually at par, who is able to handle and give him all the attention. There is no way faculty can do that. Right? So you need to build systems around the directors at least in the current system of IITs, where they are empowered and get much more juice out of their own time.
Okay, so I want to throw it open now to the audience for any questions that you may have. In the interest of participation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to at least 4 or 5 questions first, and then I'll get the panel to answer. Dr. Radhakrishnan.
Mike.
Just give one of the mics, please.
I like two words most. One is the grand challenge, other is the national challenge. If you put all 23 IITs together, we have something like 6,500 to 7,000 best brains of the country, of the world. Now, how are we able to get synergy within the institutes and among the institutes to look at grand problems? We are not part of the disruptive technologies of the world. How in the future we can make a major difference for the country?
Mr. Ashok Mishra?
Yeah, since the mic was here, so I said. So 2-3 things. Basically, two. One is the startups is a great culture. Can we think of a system where we talk to people like HAL or ISRO or other companies, the big companies, and say what are the kinds of ancillary industries they would require, and have so-called directed startups rather than just a free-falling startup. And so you can guide the students that these are the things the country wants. Why don't you do a startup in this, which will help in Make in India and all that. Secondly, I made that point yesterday, and I'll repeat it. All the IITs have some outstanding facilities, and I'll just name one of them. IIT Kanpur has flexible electronics. I'm saying probably because I'm not sure of where is it. Probably the best center of flexible electronics in the world. But I know it because I visited it, but Bangalore doesn't know it. You have to step out and tell the people in the Bangalore area where electronic industry is that here is the facility, use it. You're doing a lot of work in packaging. The packaging industry is oblivious to the fact that smart packaging can be done.
So let me just take a few more. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm Parameshwar Iyer, retired faculty from Indian Institute of Science. We heard some of the success stories from some of the directors, but it's rather sad that nationally many of these success stories are not known across the country. So I think something by which the IITs can synergize and publicize these success stories, because I know success beats success. And I like Professor Sudhir Jain's idea of system integrators or liaison people. I have done that at IIT Kharagpur, where I set up the Sponsored Research Industrial Consultancy Center, and at Indian Institute of Science Bangalore, where I work for the Center for Scientific Industrial Consultancy. I think we need some people who have been faculty or whatever, who can step out of the publish, teach kind of role and do this integration role within the institutes and also between the institutes and industries. I think such liaison people will really help the IITs project themselves and get industries forward. Thank you.
Slightly contrarian kind of a question. See, there is a lot of talk about industry interaction, having entrepreneurship, startups, etc., which is very important. But isn't an academic institution of the level of IIT to be a thought leader? So are we going to compromise being thought leaders in the process of catering to whatever, social development, national development, industry, starting companies, etc., etc.? I mean, when I look at Stanford, when I look at Berkeley, when I look at MIT, they are thought leaders. They give a thought by which the whole world runs in some sense. Shouldn't that also be an aspiration in the IIT system?
Okay, just 2 more questions we can take. Yes, the gentleman here, please. The middle, sir, sorry.
Okay, I'm S.S. Pudhe, formerly with IIT Delhi. I think IITs have to guard against some of these things. They have to protect their values and cultures. So some of the values and cultures are integrity, autonomy, and I think unfortunately, I think IITs tend to be driven by the career bureaucrats of Shastri Bhavan. I think IIT should be in the driver's seat, and they have to drive, and they have to have the policy.
I think nobody disagrees with you. The question is how to make that happen.
No. Point is, I believe threats are coming.
Yeah.
That's why that has to be resisted. You know, and I think
Mere resistance, whether it will work, I don't know. But anyway, it's a good point. Funny, yeah, please. Sir, please. Just a minute. Please give it to us. Come back. So quick now, we have just 5 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed among all this thing which I would like to flag off is that we are only talking about what individually we have done. Secondly, we have only talking about things which we have done as a reactive measure to what has come from the government rather than on our individual basis. Third thing is we have many of our alumni in top corporate positions and still we don't get any industry is not enamored with us. And fourth is even now when we are taking questions, we have not even had a single industry person given an opportunity to talk about what they want.
Okay, sir, I want to give a chance first to any lady who has a question. 1 second. Okay, just a minute, because please. Sushila, yeah, you're all yours. Please take the mic.
No one, I guess, no one else is going to ask this question.
Yeah.
But what is happening with girls in the IITs and what happens to them after they come out of IIT? When I look around this room, it's no different than the late 70s and 80s when I was at IIT.
Okay, sorry. So I'm going to just stop for a moment. For 1 second, let's just pause for a moment. We don't have too much time. Any reactions to any of these questions? I'm going to, because we are sort of constrained for time. Just quickly go around. I'll start with quick reaction to any question that you found interesting.
I found all questions interesting, but I think the girls' question is pretty important. I think now things are getting corrected a little bit. At IIT Delhi, in the undergraduate classes, 20% are the girls now. So 1 in 5 students in undergraduate classes at IIT Delhi is a girl student. That has happened now. So if this meeting were to be held maybe later, then you would find more girls in the audience. So that will be one thing. And also across the institution, it will be 1 in 3. 33% of students at IIT Delhi are now girls. So I think this gender disparity, that correction is taking place. Things will change.
The synergy part, there's one question which many people are asking. How can you combine the strengths of the IITs?
I think this requires a desire from at the top level, say from the directors, that there should be synergy, and also faculty who see that as benefit of synergy. Let's say at IIT Mandi, for instance, we have encouraged collaborations, and we probably have more collaborations with other IITs than any other IIT. There is a consortium on BioX between IIT Mandi, IIT Ropar, and PGI Chandigarh, where there are quite a number of projects that we take.
Sitaram, how can we use the facilities better? All the equipment and all these like flexible electronics or whatever, all the great infrastructure we have. Can we find a way of sharing it with industry?
Yeah, I'll just continue on what Mr. Gonsalves was telling about synergy. You know, last IIT Council I suggested, why don't IITs jointly guide the students? That was not actually practiced. So last council has accepted the proposal of joint degree between IIT Madras and IIT Delhi. If there is a facility which we can share and work with students and faculty, and both faculty mobility, student mobility between IITs also can be possible today. So that is one thing. And then coming to the grand challenges, I think we should accept the grand challenge like water or something, you know, IIT should take up and look at it as a nationwide scenario, because this is being looked at in a piecemeal operations. See, none of these, even Jal Shakti new ministry has been formed, but they have not really understood. So even we are still going ahead with what UN says about India having shortage of water. The entire map is shown as if there is a water shortage in India. So on average, rainfall of 1,000 millimeter or more for last 140 and 50 years of data, if you look at it, there is no way there is a shortage of water. There is actually a shortage of storage. Even though we have the third largest nation, largest dam building nation, large dam building nation in the world, with 5,800 dams, and still we are constructing. We are the only country still building large dams. But unfortunate, but still we have only holding 10% of what rainfall we see. Less than 10% of the rainfall. So we need to look at this problem in a much bigger way, rather than just the quality of water, and we are looking at desalination of water, which is not actually for our country. So we need to look this challenge as a grand challenge, take this up and do this. And then another area is the biopolymers. See, IIT Guwahati, I would like to say, Center for Excellence in Bioplastic has done tremendously well, And we have a biodegradable plastic now ready, which can degrade in the natural environment within 6 months. So that is the kind of
Karandikar, so this whole question of thought leadership, which Dr. Desai was asking, is there necessarily a compromise? Do you have to be either a supporter of startups or a thought leader, or can you do everything? What do you think?
No, I think I completely agree that I think I made that point also in my earlier remarks that universities can do what universities they cannot become corporations or companies. So, and I think it is therefore important that we retain that structure. The only way it is possible is that you incubate companies and you commercialize and you enable funding. Like it is. It is not possible for the universities to, when we talk of translational research and we talk of research which will have a societal and national impact, we are only talking of doing fundamental research in the areas which will have a long-term impact in terms of the country. But I think the fact remains that most people who have joined the academics, obviously they have joined the academic, but they would want to do the academics. Otherwise, all the engineering professors, they could have as well worked in the industry or would have become an entrepreneur. So I think that part remains very important. And therefore, as I said, that there is a pull from the industry is very much needed. Unless the nation and the society and the research labs and the whole ecosystem really takes advantage of the intellectual prowess that exists in the institutions, we really cannot have a meaningful long-term technology development impact in the country. That cannot be just left to like IITs.
Sudhir, how can we protect the integrity and autonomy?
See, I'll throw a thought here. The thought is, if you really want top-class faculty in an IIT, they cannot be sheep. You cannot hurt them. Which means, if you tell me as a director, your people should work on this, it doesn't work. Because then I cannot tell my faculty, you are sheep, I am hurting you in the north or south. They are cats. They are running all over the place. And the only way I can bring them at a common place is by putting a lot of milk there. So, you bring milk and my faculty will work. Right? Whether you are government, whether you are industry, you put milk, or if as a director I want to encourage something, the only way that I have is I put milk there. I never tell my faculty what they should be doing. I just put some milk and I see some cats coming there.
My job is to finish on time, so I'm going to move on time. Kindly sit down. That's it. Thank you. So please give them a big hand. Thank you. Sorry for being rude. No question from the industry, sir. No other